This happened to me last year, and I'm still trying to make sense of it. My name's Dakota, and I work double shifts at the docks in Portland, Oregon. Sometimes I need to crash somewhere cheap between my morning and night shifts instead of driving all the way home. There's this rundown motel called the Pine Rest on Martin Luther King Boulevard. $40 a night. Smells like old cigarettes, but it's close to work. I'd stayed there maybe 10 times before without any problems. This one Tuesday in March, I checked into room 18. The heater made this annoying clicking sound every few minutes. I remember thinking my sister would hate this place because she's picky about noise when she sleeps. Around 11:30 p.m., I'm half asleep when I get this weird feeling, like I've done this exact moment before. 3 sharp knocks on the door next to mine, room 19. Then footsteps running down the hallway. A door slams. Then, this muffled scream, but someone saying "don't open" over and over. The whole thing lasts maybe 30 seconds. Then, silence. But here's where it gets fucked up. I kept having the exact same sequence replay in my head. Same knocks, same footsteps, same voice saying, "don't open." It was so specific that I grabbed a notepad from the nightstand and wrote it all down, thinking maybe that would make it stop. A week later, I'm eating lunch at home in Beaverton when the local news comes on. Missing person report for a woman named Christina Valdez, last seen at a motel on MLK Boulevard. They showed her photo and mentioned she always kept a red coffee mug by the bathroom sink. My stomach dropped. In my déjà vu thing, I kept seeing this red mug sitting on a sink through a cracked door. I drove back to the Pine Rest and asked the manager about it. This guy Carlos starts sweating when I mention room 19 from that Tuesday night. Says he doesn't remember anything unusual, but his hands are shaking while he's talking. The lady who cleans rooms, Mrs. Chen, pulls me aside later. She remembers some guy checking out of 19 real early Wednesday morning. Left in a hurry, didn't even turn in his key. Carlos finally lets me look at the booking logs after I keep pushing. That's when I notice something strange. Names that don't match the ID copies, dates that overlap weird. And stuck in the back of the ledger are these Polaroid photos of different people. I count 12 photos, all different faces, but they all have this same terrified look. The déjà vu wasn't some random brain thing. It was my mind trying to process something I saw, but didn't want to remember. Through the thin walls, I'd heard Christina's last moments. My brain kept playing it back until I wrote it down and faced what really happened. Police found her body 3 days later in the Columbia River. Carlos disappeared that same week. Sometimes your mind protects you by forgetting things, but sometimes it protects others by making you remember. I still drive past that motel sometimes. It's boarded up now, but I swear I can still hear those 3 knocks echoing in my head. The weird part? I found 11 other missing person reports from the past 2 years, all last seen around Martin Luther King Boulevard. All of them match the faces in those photos. I live in Spokane, Washington with my wife and our little boy, Elias. He just turned 3. I don't really tell people this story because it sounds fake, but it happened, and every time I think about it, it makes my hands sweat. Elias started drawing these scribbles when he was about 2. Nothing strange about that. Kids draw weird stuff. But he would always draw the same thing. A lopsided house, and this one window coloured in darker than the rest. At first, I thought it was just his little habit. I even joked that maybe he'd be an architect one day. But he kept doing it, over and over, sometimes 10 sheets of paper a day. Same house, same shadowed window. My wife, Marin, thought it was just a phase. I tried not to think too much. Then little things started happening in real life. I remember waking up one night and feeling this heavy pull to check under the bed. Like it wasn't my thought, but it was. Dumb, right? Nothing was there, of course. But the next week I noticed a single red boot sitting on the landing of the stairs. We don't even own red boots. A few nights later, I heard a truck outside at 2:14 a.m. Exactly. I know because I checked my phone. I brushed it off. I had work, stress, life. But one afternoon, Elias was colouring and he said, real casual, "That's the scarf chair." I asked what he meant. He just tapped the corner of the paper where he scribbled a red line across a chair. It didn't click until weeks later when Maren showed me an old news article on her phone. A girl had gone missing a year before, 2 streets down. Abduction, never solved. The article had pictures from the case file that leaked. A boot, a scarf, a sketch of the house she was last seen near. It looked almost exactly like Elias's drawings. I can't explain the pit in my chest when I saw that. My son was barely talking when that happened. How would he know any of it? I couldn't shake it. One night I followed the patterns, the sound of the truck, the boot, the scarf. It led me toward the alley behind our block. There's this old sublet that's been empty since I moved here. Windows boarded up. I shouldn't have gone inside, but the back door was already cracked open. The place smelled like mildew and something burned. I wandered through until I found a cabinet bolted shut. I don't know why, but I pried it open with a rusted screwdriver I found in the sink. Inside were toys, dusty dolls, and a little box of crayons, and a scarf folded neatly, faintly smelling like smoke. But what got me was a stack of papers at the bottom. Scribbles, dates written in shaky handwriting, same kind of scrawl my toddler makes. I felt sick, like I was seeing a memory that wasn't mine. I left everything, locked the cabinet back, and just walked out. Haven't told the cops, haven't told anyone but Maren. Elias doesn't draw the house anymore. He just stopped one day. Sometimes he hums when he colours now, low and strange, like he's remembering something old. And every time I hear a truck outside at night, I don't look at the clock anymore. This happened to me when I worked at this insurance company in Phoenix. I was just a regular data entry guy, nothing special. My name's Ezra, by the way. I still think about this whole thing, and it makes me feel sick. It started around March last year. Every Tuesday at 2:30 p.m, we had these team meetings. Same boring routine. The fluorescent light above my desk would make this weird humming sound. Janet, our manager, would walk in and say, "All right, everyone, let's get this show on the road." Marcus would lean back in his chair and it would creak. Always the left chair, 3rd row. First time I noticed something weird, I thought my brain was just tired. You know how sometimes you feel like you've been somewhere before? That's what this was. Except it kept happening. Every single Tuesday, same 5 minutes before the meeting started. Same hum, same creak, same stupid phrase from Janet. But then small things started changing. Week 3, Marcus's coffee cup was on the right side of his desk instead of the left. Week 4, there was a yellow sticky note on my computer that wasn't there before. It said, "Remember to check emails." I don't even use sticky notes. I thought I was going crazy. My girlfriend Chloe said I was working too much. She was probably right. I started doing this thing where I'd make tiny marks on my pen with my fingernail during those 5 minutes, just to see if I was really remembering right. The marks kept disappearing. That's when I knew something was really fucked up. Sorry for the language, but that's how I felt. I started paying attention to everything. Who was looking at what? Who had their phone out? I noticed Derek from IT was always typing something during those exact 5 minutes. Always. One day I pretended to go to the bathroom early and snuck back to peek at Derek's screen. He was in some chat room talking about Subject 7, shows increased stress response when items are moved. Subject 3 doesn't notice environmental changes until day 5. Subject 7. That was me. 7th person, hired in our department. I took photos with my phone. Then I went straight to HR. They called in IT security and we found everything. Derek had this whole folder on his computer called Behavioral Studies. Screenshots of all our reactions, notes about how long each person could handle being interrupted, what made people nervous, how we responded to weird suggestions. Turns out he'd been running experiments on our whole team for months, moving our stuff, adding things to our desks, recording us with hidden cameras. He even had notes about which people would follow suggestions to open doors or check emails. The déjà vu feeling was real because he was literally recreating the same scenarios over and over, just with tiny changes to see how we'd react. The company fired him immediately. They said he'd been selling the data to some marketing research firm. But here's the thing that still bothers me. He had months of detailed notes about my daily habits, when I got coffee, how I walked to my car, even what I ate for lunch. I quit 2 weeks later. Now I work from home. Sometimes I still check my pen for marks that aren't supposed to be there.